Garlic. For a crop that spends nearly a year in the ground, over half of that in a relatively steady state, the last leg of its life cycle can be kind of exciting. Spring is finally here, the plants are looking massive, and the harvest is but 2 months away. That bounty, lying just below the soil surface, is indicated when 1/2 to 2/3 of the foliage has died off. Only then are the bulbs truly ready to dig up. We're not quite there yet, which is okay, because we got a few things to do first to max out these bulbs before the harvest later on this summer. Hard-neck varieties of garlic have to be one of the longest crops you'll ever grow. Planted in the fall right before the ground freezes, the cloves lie in this semi-dormant state for nearly 6 months. For the most part, we don't really do anything with our garlic at this time. Winter goes ahead and does its thing, with spring finally giving us our first look at how successful our planting was. One thing you'll notice with your garlic right away is how neat and tidy the spacing and the rows usually are. And that's because we planted it that way, because garlic absolutely hates competition. It hates competition from itself, and it also hates it from other plants. Garlic simply does not compete very well for resources, and overcrowding either with itself or other plants will most definitely affect the bulb size. So, the first thing we need to do coming out of winter is to weed. And because garlic grows like this mini uniform forest, weeding your beds and rows is super easy and shouldn't take you more than a few minutes. Pull those weeds up in the early spring before they get established, before they become a real nuisance. Just be extra careful with those deep-rooted ones like dandelions and thistles. If their roots intertwine with that of the garlics, you could pull up the bulb as well, ruining it for a later harvest. Once we've weeded all the beds, it can actually leave them in a pretty sorry state. So, before we do anything else, a reapplication of mulch is in order to set the beds back up like we like them. Nothing too fancy, just a good 2-inch or so coating of straw, grass, or leaves to protect that top layer of soil, right where those new garlic bulbs are forming. I know I tend to push mulching a lot on almost every video, but because garlic grows right at the surface and the hot weather is just around the corner, mulching can really make a difference. Keeping both the temperature and moisture levels nice and even is the key to getting those giant garlic harvests. Now that the beds are all cleaned up and looking great again, it's time to dial in that moisture. It's the mulch itself that makes this part super easy. Garlic, like a lot of plants, likes it consistently moist, not soaking wet, and never bone dry. Just nice, even, available moisture, especially for these last 2 months. Now, if you're like me and you get a lot of spring rains and other types of precipitation, you don't have to be so diligent with the watering, especially with that nice thick mulch layer. However, if you are experiencing that hot, dry weather, especially leading into summer, you're gonna have to make sure that your soil is getting the water that it needs. When you do water, long, thorough soakings are better than frequent, shallow ones. We want to train those garlic roots to go down into the soil as deep as they can reach. They'll become more resilient to drought this way, plus, as the roots expand, they'll have greater access to more available nutrients. One thing to remember when you're watering your garlic, though, is that you need to stop it about 2 weeks before you intend to harvest it. This is because you want the garlic to pre-start that curing process in the ground. And you want those bulbs to be dry to the touch when you go to harvest it so that it can actually cure properly. So, about 2 weeks before you intend to pull those bulbs out of the ground, stop watering. Now, back to those nutrients we just touched on. Garlic is a great low-maintenance crop in that it only gets fed twice during its entire life cycle. Both of those times, however, are in the spring. Garlic is fed on or shortly after your last spring frost date, basically once winter is ended. Remember, despite the active root growth, your garlic is lying dormant for the first 6 months of its life. So, just as your garlic is coming out of its winter slumber, give it its first feeding. Then, about a month later, it gets fed again. And that's where I'm at with mine right now. That second feeding about a month after the first one. For the fertilizer, it's nothing fancy, and both feedings are simply given a balanced liquid organic feed diluted to the manufacturer's specs. Water it in thoroughly right through that mulch. Simple stuff, but the timing on these feedings, however, is absolutely key because you never want to be feeding garlic close to harvest time. In fact, at least 6 to 8 weeks before your intended harvest date, ensure that you cease all fertilizing. Too close to the final bulb formation, and excess nutrients can hamper that curing process at best and cause mushy and unusable bulbs at worst. So, 2 feedings. Once immediately after winter, and then again about a month to 6 weeks after that. And my 5th and final task for my garlic spring maintenance isn't quite ready yet. That's right, we're talking garlic scapes. Removal to be exact. The garlic scape is simply the flowering stalk of hardneck garlic. Like all flowers are, they're a complete drain on the main plant, and by removing them, we send more energy back into the bulb, which is what we want. Now, soft neck growers in warmer climates need not apply here. But northern garlic gardeners are going to want to remove any and all scapes as they appear when they reach about pencil thickness. Cut the stalks down right to where they meet those first set of protective leaves. It's not much work and it should only take you a few minutes. Don't toss those scapes though, as they're absolutely delicious and they shouldn't be wasted. A simple, straightforward crop, yes, but with a few nuances. Nuances that can really determine the difference between a mediocre harvest and an epic one. So let's go ahead and recap those main points to ensure we get the harvest that we want. I know that it feels like an eternity since we planted our garlic last fall. I get it. But the harvest truly is just around the corner, and it's gonna be worth it. Hopefully the 5 things we covered here today lift your garlic to new heights down this pivotal stretch and give you your best bulbs yet. Hey, as always, happy growing, guys, and I'll see you soon. Hey, thanks so much for watching, guys. Truly, this channel wouldn't exist without passionate gardeners like you. For even more info-packed videos like this, check out this playlist of garden quickies here. And for those of you that are interested, my online course, Vegetable Gardening Basics, is live and ready for enrollment. As always, happy growing, and I'll see you in the next one.